This is the four-way test. If you are a Rotarian, you likely received some form of this when you became a member. Some of you at the time might have thought, what is this? I don't like tests. Where did this come from? What's this all about? Well, today, we will endeavor to answer these questions and do it in the best way I know how. We'll go back in time. This may look like an ordinary rotary wheel, but it's actually a time machine. All you have to do to get it started is to say these words nice and loud when I say so. Are you ready? All together. Now, turn back the wheel. Well done. And we're off to 1932, Chicago, Illinois. It has been nearly 3 years since the stock market crash. The Great Depression is at its worst. In August, unemployment hit 25%. The GDP is down almost 50% since Black Tuesday, and the Cubs lost the World Series 4 games to zip to the New York Yankees. Things are bad in Chicago. But a 39-year-old Rotarian named Herbert Taylor is still doing well. He is an executive for the Jewel Tea Company. Having put himself through college at Northwestern and having served in World War I as a naval officer, Herb joined Jewel Tea in 1924, a year after he joined the Chicago Rotary Club, the first Rotary Club in the world. By 1932, Herb has worked his way up to a 5-figure salary and is in line for the presidency. His future is bright, but his life is about to change. The bank, holding most of the interest in a company called Club Aluminum, a pots and pans company, approaches Jewel Tea. Club Aluminum is on the verge of bankruptcy and facing multiple lawsuits. The bank executives know Herb Taylor's record at Jewel and ask if they can borrow him half-time to revive Club Aluminum. Herb settles the lawsuits and figures out that the company is $400,000 in debt. That's equivalent to over $7 million today. The requested work done, Herb could return to Jewel, but when Club Aluminum offers him the presidency at an 80% cut in pay, he accepts. His boss is the second most surprised person in the world. Herb's wife, Gloria, is the first. Herb loans his own savings of $6,100 to Club Aluminum for working capital and prays for inspiration. Why did he do this? Well, there were several young fellows who had jobs at Club because Taylor had recommended them to the company and the company to them. He couldn't let them down, for one thing. And for another, he had some ideas about square dealing, how it pays out. He believed in some very old-fashioned but awfully wise old sayings, stuff like, that which should be done can be done. In right there is might. Honesty is always the best policy, and do unto others as you would they should do unto you. What the company needs, he thought, is some sort of ethical code or yardstick which employees can easily memorize and apply to what they think, say, or do in relationships with coworkers, vendors, and especially clients and customers. He started writing down his ideas, going through several drafts, each time making it shorter, until he came up with 4 probing questions. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill for the company and better friendships among employees? Will it be of service and profitable to all concerned? Next, Herb checks the statement with his 4 department heads, who happen to be a Roman Catholic, a Christian Scientist, an Orthodox Jew, and a Presbyterian. They all agree that the test's principles not only coincide with their religious beliefs, but also provides an exemplary guide for personal and business life. Then comes a time to test the test. First, Herb looks at advertising for Club. Words like better, best, greatest, or finest are dropped from ads and replaced with factual descriptions of the product. Negative comments about competitors are removed. We sell our goods on our own merits, he says. Taylor would not undersell his competitors. He turned instead to improving merchandising methods, checking every new method against the 4-way test. Before he bought, he made sure the price offered was not too low. If he thought the seller wouldn't get a decent profit, he paid him enough so that he would, or he'd buy somewhere else. In one case, a vendor, a printer, made a mistake in his estimate of some marketing materials and lost a considerable amount of money. When Taylor found the mistake, he had a check dispatched to cover the man's losses. "But you didn't need to," a friend said to Herb. "No," Herb admitted, "but what is the use or fun of having ideals if you don't back them up with action. Really try to live them in your business and in your home. To act upon the test, he also developed a 4-way plan of action. Number 1, get the facts. Number 2, develop the plan. Number 3, sell the plan. Number 4, follow through. Mighty useful, though Rotary didn't adopt this one. Club aluminum became profitable and remained profitable even in hard times. In 1939, Herb became the president of his Rotary Club in Chicago, and a couple of his fellow Rotarians went to hear him speak to another club when he happened to tell the story of Club Aluminum and his 4-way test. One of the fellows happened to be the president of an influential salesmanship school. "This can be revolutionary," he said. "America's been living in the hardest kind of business competition, dog eat dog and let the buyer beware. We can't ignore this." So, the Chicago Club started spreading the news. Meanwhile, by June of 1941, Club aluminum sales had zoomed from nearly nothing to $4 million a year. Then, in December of that same year, the U.S. entered World War II, and the U.S. government claimed all raw aluminum for armament. Several aluminum fabricators took defense contracts and dropped their sales personnel. But for Taylor, that response didn't square with the 4-way test. He had to take a different route. He and his staff converted their entire sales operations to new items made from materials not needed for munitions. They held their sales and continued operating on a profitable basis for decades. In 1942, the story of the 4-way test appeared for the first time in the Rotarian magazine. Modified to its present verbiage, Rotary International officially adopted the 4-way test in 1943 as a nonpartisan and nonsectarian ethical guide for Rotarians to use for their personal and professional relationships. By 1948, the 4-way test had become a firm commitment for many clubs around the U.S. and the world, and they wanted to spread the news and share this meaningful guide. Clubs put it on billboards and in public places and created special programs to describe the test and its meaning to other clubs. They even shared it with local businesses and schools. Not that kind of test. In 1954, Herbert Taylor became the president of Rotary International and gave RI the copyright. Since that time forward, the 4-way test has been the ethical code for all Rotary clubs. New members receive the 4-way test in the form of a document, plaque, coin, or button, and the test has been translated into more than 100 languages, and members often recite it at meetings. Herb Taylor, by bequeathing these 24 words to Rotarians worldwide, simply hoped to make the world a little bit of a better place. He was the first to admit that the test is hard to ace. He felt his company was only 70% proficient in living up to the 4-way test. However, he firmly believed if you use the test on yourself, you begin to think right and think things through. And that's how the 4-way test came to be. See you next time for another moment in Rotary history when we turn back the wheel.